when you put 20,000 Haitians into a town of 60,000, I think you've destroyed that town like more permanently than dropping an atomic bomb on it. I think it's scary the direction that America is going in. I see the beliefs that I have as being substantially minority beliefs, and I think that, there's a certain type of person. America originally selected for this certain type of person. It was, you had to be rugged, you had to be an individual, you had to want to leave your country to build something new at a time when that was very costly. And now it's very easy to get here, and the selection effects for who's coming here, I think, is generally making America a worse country politically. This isn't. I am for some forms of immigration, but I think that we need to be selecting for people who make America more American, not less American. And I believe there are people with American, that kind of American impulse. I believe they exist all over the world, not at equal rates, but I believe they existed all over the world. And if we had better mechanisms for making sure that we were getting people to make America more American, that'd be awesome. Instead, we're seeing the Democrats massively import people, funding them to come here, and these are people who are making America less American. I mean, I think when you put 20,000 Haitians into a town of 60,000, I think you've destroyed that town like more permanently than dropping an atomic bomb on it. Okay,
absolutely.
This is we have to have these kinds of uncomfortable conversations. It might be uncomfortable to have this conversation, but we need to debate it in reality. Like, is that a true statement or is that a false statement? We can't just react emotionally to that.
That sounds like a racist bigot argument there, Jeremy. How dare you try to have a logical, sensical argument that's not based off hyperbolic emotions?
And what's right? There's a Haitian Free Stater who moved here from Haiti. He's like, I agree with you completely. So he doesn't have any problem.
The most uncomfortable conversations are the most important conversations, and I think this is why comedians are under attack, and that and why there's been a massive effort to try to cancel them, to try to destroy them, to try to ruin them. The larger attacks that we have seen throughout the years on Dave Chappelle, on Joe Rogan, and all these other luminaries that have always happened against these gestures in our society that are able to, of course, help us deal with the larger problems of society. The establishment really hates them more than anyone else in our society, because they're able to, of course, address these issues in such an honest, truthful way where it really kind of strikes at the heart, the root of the issues. And this is why I think free speech is the number one enemy of tyrants and liars, and why, if Kamala Harris gets elected as president of the United States, why she probably will be going after that the first thing, a part of her larger kind of executive power grab when it comes to reining in social media companies. I wanted to ask you, how do you think the Kamala Harris presidency, if she is elected, will play out? As of course you dealt with a lot of legal lawfare yourself. What do you expect for individuals like Elon Musk, as Donald Trump is soon to be sentenced as well? He still has a sentencing. A lot of people forgot about that. He could be the first president ever behind bars. Could happen with how crazy the world is. But Jeremy, I wanted to ask you what your kind of experience. How would you see an America under Kamala Harris under her reign?
Yeah, so it's certainly not going to be good. I think it could kind of go either way. Well, it could be very bad, or it could be like moderately bad, and it's tough to see which of those it would be. I think sort of so goes Elon, so goes America. You can already see there is this faction of bureaucrats who are going after Elon, challenging him over civil rights violations, challenging him over you can't launch your rockets because like 7 turtles might die. He's started talking about some of this stuff, and I think anyone in business has experienced it. Trump had a great segment on Rogan talking about how the environmental regulations have inhibited him, from building buildings and building things, and this is what's caused, this. It's both cultural, but it's also regulatory. I think it's substantially regulatory. Like there's a lot of rot, and it's become so hard to do anything, to build anything, to achieve anything. Even in New Hampshire, as much as I like to talk about it, I saw this new building go up, 80-unit apartment building. They built the building in 1 year. It took them 6 years to get government approval to build the building. So they owned the lot for 7 years, 6 years of waiting, 1 year of building to get an 80-unit apartment building up. And this is everything. This is America could be a leader in every industry. We have the smartest people here. We have very able people here. And what's holding us back is our own government. And I think if Kamala is elected, that absolutely gets worse. I think it potentially gets way worse because it's not clear if it can't happen now. If Trump can't win this election with all of this being clear, like what's the comeback path for America at large? I mean, America, the debt, the trajectory of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all of the entitlements, it's completely unsustainable. And there's no desire to fix it on the left other than to do more of what's making things not work. Let's raise taxes more on people who do anything to give more to people who don't do anything. And your country will eventually collapse. We're seeing democracy generally, right? Democracy, I think it's plausible that it was better than what came before, but we're now seeing the flaws. Like every system, if it doesn't evolve, eventually cracks. And we're seeing this happen not just in America, but in Europe, where you can pull up a graph of what percent of the economy was controlled by the government. And in the last 120 years, every democratic nation has gone from like 5% to 50%. Every democratic nation in the world. And there's no track record of a democracy ever recovering from this kind of thing. And so if all of this just continues, where does it go? It will crack under its own weight eventually. And if people can't see it now, I'm kind of skeptical that they're going to see it in the future.
Yeah, it does definitely seem like there's a lot at stake here during this election, not just the political parties, but more specifically the economy, the future of free speech, the future of a lot of individuals that have taken sides here that sadly will have the brunt of government going after them, trying to take them down because they were on the wrong side of the political party alignment. And it definitely does seem like if the Democrats get in power, they're going to codify their positions of power forever. Which leads me to a question that we were asked yesterday from one of our super chatters. What are you going to do if Kamala Harris wins? Are you going to leave the country? What's the kind of move to make here?
You got to get to good states, whether that's Florida, New Hampshire. There's maybe a short list beyond that. It's one of the things I've learned about recently is that even in the worst dark ages of Europe, and the dark ages can be a bit overstated, but there are clearly some bad eras for Europe. Even in the worst times, life in the best city-states in Europe was still very good, often better than your life would have been when the Roman Empire was a coherent empire, the life in the good city-state. And so, America collapsing doesn't mean the ideals of America collapse. It most likely means that you retreat to some kind of citadel. And the more the American government pursues this unsustainable path, the more incentive there is to be the first state out the door, right? So the first state, if everything continues to be financially and economically unsustainable, the first state to leave actually gets an outsized reward. And so if things don't change, I don't see how America stays together over the long term or even the medium term.
Do you think we can get the liberals to? Do you think Trump can? When he's talking about eliminating the income tax, I think that can get everyone on board. Do you think there's a path to that with the tariffs?
I'm somewhat skeptical that one plays out. I mean, I don't know what the exact math on how high tariffs have to be to replace the income tax. My guess is it's actually difficult to predict because the tariff would be so high that you can't even estimate. Like if a tariff goes from like 10% to 100%, you can't. It's difficult to calculate how that changes because you're going to get less of the goods in the first place, right? That whole like Laffer curve effect or whatever it's called. And so, I if you told me could I press a button and somehow all of our taxes were tariffs instead of income tax, like I would take that deal. I think that is. I like it directionally, so I hate to be the guy who's like popping the bubble of reality on that. I think it's probably not going to happen. But the idea that it's even being talked about is great. There's never been a time in my life that anyone said, oh, let's get rid of the income tax. So the fact that that's being introduced, I think, is amazing. If the American government can't find a way to rein in spending, to cut entitlements, to shrink the defense budget, et cetera, rearranging the taxes isn't going to solve the problem.
I think if there is a way, I mean, having people like Elon in your administration, that's probably the best chance you're going to have to even make this happen.
Yeah, I mean, having him discuss ending tax on overtime, tax on tips, I like that. That's a great start. So I'm all in for those.
And this is also, for better or worse, part of the sort of political fracturing of America, where we're now on these permanent tribes. Like, the Democrats do all this stuff for their base. So if you vote and Kamala Harris does it so explicitly, it's like illegal, right? She's like, I'm gonna give money just to black people, right? It's like, it's so blatant. But if the other side is doing that, you do have to kind of do it. And so the cleverness of that, where I think it's very smart on Trump's part, is Trump picked policies that people who are already likely to vote Republican support. It's mostly Republican voters who are working overtime. Right, a bunch of the leftist professional class is all salaried. So this is a way of giving a handout to his team. Right. So no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime. These are policies that are designed to differentially benefit people who are likely to vote Republican in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it also galvanizes the libertarian base. People are like, yeah, I want less taxes. I don't want to pay more. Why should we be paying more? The national debt is unpayable. And it's something that, of course, is just not feasible. Now, I don't like tariffs as well. I don't like any kind of taxes. But, it's a kind of crazy idea. He's kind of throwing it out there. He's backing up this plan. I really do think there's going to be some very serious kind of economic issues that are going to kind of come to a head under Donald Trump presidency. Because if you're controlling the global financial markets and the big banks, and you're part of the Federal Reserve and you control the interest rates, I think this is the time where a lot of the banksters are like, let's just dump it all. Let's just really put it on Donald Trump's lap. And it looks like Elon Musk agrees with that, as there's a very interesting news article here from MediasNews.com that reads, Trump ally Elon Musk warns of necessary economic collapse if Trump is elected. Musk says everyday Americans must embrace the pain if Trump gets back in the Oval Office. I do foresee this happening, and I think this is why Donald Trump is kind of throwing out these wild ideas of getting rid of the federal income tax. Why he's talking about potentially using Bitcoin as a reserve currency. Why he's talking about so many different kind of radical alternatives, because you're going to need a radical thinker to deal with these extraordinary larger financial pressures that I think they're going to tweak and make more severe under his presidency. How will that play out is the larger question here, as Elon Musk is already warning people, hey, there's going to be a big storm that's going to be coming here. How will you deal with it? Well, at least we have someone that looks at as a solution that is cutting taxes and using alternatives to, of course, the U.S. dollar that I think are worth exploring now more than ever.
Well, I think in this post, if it's the one I'm thinking of, here they actually talk about cutting entitlements and cutting spending, because America is already spending more than it brings in revenue. You can't cut taxes without actually cutting spending. And so if we can get rid of 50% of the bureaucrats or 20% of the bureaucrats and do to the American regulatory regime what Musk did to Twitter, and bring down costs and bring down spending, then we can actually cut taxes and America can be on a better trajectory. But cutting taxes alone, I'm not saying I'm against it, but cutting taxes alone won't solve the problem. It will only increase the amount of borrowing that the country does. And I think if you look at expenses of the American government, I think it's something like 50 to 60%. If you add up Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and defense spending, that's like 50 to 60% of the budget. So and if you look at how much of the federal government is spending of your money, so 15%, 20% of all income across America is going to these four things. And so you have to find ways to shrink those. Ultimately, you have to find ways to shrink those.
Yeah. How will it kind of play out here? I mean, that's going to be the interesting kind of situation that I think all of us will need to look at and, of course, prepare for. As this is the tweet that Elon Musk responded to by saying, sounds about right, from a Fisher King 64 that said, quote, if Trump succeeds in forcing through mass deportations, combined with Elon hacking away at the government, firing people, and reducing the deficit, there will be an initial severe overreaction in the economy. This economy, propped up with debt, generating asset bubbles, rules and artificially suppressing wages as a result of illegal immigration, markets will tumble. But when the storm passes and everyone realizes we are on sounder footing, there would be a rapid recovery to a healthier, sustainable economy. History could be made in the coming 2 years. I agree with that kind of larger sentiment with how it would kind of play out here. And I would also be very careful with other dastardly kind of powers behind the scenes that would try to exacerbate this kind of initial overreaction, this initial kind of pain that will be brought on to the American taxpayer. Now, Donald Trump doesn't have the best record when it comes to balancing the budgets, but he was also dealing with a crazy situation in 2021 as well. So how will he perform this time around if he gets elected? That's going to be something that's going to be very kind of fascinating. What are your guys' concerns with everything kind of moving forward in the direction that it's moving forward in?
Well, I will admit, despite being excited about a Trump presidency, I am a little bit pessimistic about this vision actually happening. And the reason is it's just fundamentally unpopular. People want a free lunch. People don't understand the economics of the country. And so the idea of, tightening the belt, reining in entitlements, reining in all of these spending programs, which are effectively handouts, it's going to be very unpopular. And I think Trump is someone who wants to be popular. I think he wants to be liked. I think he's actually not that ideological. I think even the fact that he is a Republican and on the right and doing all this stuff, it was just a path to power for him as much as anything. Like, he could have been a Democrat if the things had broken way differently. Not entirely true there, but what's necessary to do, I think, will be very unpopular. So to hope that it happens, you have to hope both the coalition of the people around him sort of convince him that this is about a future legacy, that this is about being a president who reshaped America, who saved America from failing, and short term you might be unpopular, but long term you will go down as one of the best presidents in history if you're able to do this. And that's what you would have. That's the hope case, the hopium case maybe, is that Trump can believe that he will one day be perceived as one of the greatest American presidents in history if he's able to do these things that will make him unpopular in the short term.
Yeah, I think if anything, he's getting a tough skin. I think because he has an ego. He wants to be liked. But I think after dealing with almost 8+ years of some of the worst abuse, some of the worst lies, some of the most hyperbolic, most insane people going after him, I think potentially he reached kind of a breaking point where it's like, whatever, I don't care. I don't even want to be liked by these people. I want to be liked by my constituents. So you do see him, and I think this is kind of representative of him moving away from doing larger kind of exclusives with the corporate media and now doing it with podcasters. And I think previously before, and I mentioned this when he was president of the United States, I mentioned he really wants to be accepted by CNN and the New York Times and all these kind of liberal elites that he was in the inner circles of. He wants their praise. He wants their consideration. And you could see it with his media policies. You could see it with the way that he's trying to, of course, court them. But I think he's realizing, hey, this news media, they're not my friends, and they never will be. The people who will be are the people that I could actually serve, I could actually represent, and actually make a reasonable difference for. And even when I do that, they'll still call me one of the worst people in history. So I think that larger change has happened throughout this campaign cycle, especially when it got very real for Donald Trump, when those charges started to set in, when he got that photo of him in prison started to get out there to the general public. And over a certain period of time, you could only take so much abuse until you just stop giving a damn about what the uber elite leftists think about him. So I think this is going to be a very unique kind of presidency, because you do see a change in Donald Trump, but older people don't usually change. But how will that play out when he's actually in that position in power? That's going to be fascinating. As of course, when he first went in there in 2016, automatically he started surrounding himself with some of the most evilest, most nastiest, disgusting people. And automatically, as soon as he did, I'm like, alarm bell, warning, guys, this is not going to be good for you. These guys are bad. Why is he putting them into positions of power to rule over you? This is not good. We all need to, call this out immediately. And I was attacked.
He didn't have the experience.
Yeah. I mean, yes, of course. I'm just mentioning what happened to me. because I saw it before anyone else did. I saw him cozying up to Henry Kissinger. I saw him with Gina Haspel, with all these other kind of Pompeos and Boltons, and I was automatically saying, no, bad decision. All the Trump supporters viciously attacked me, saying I'm a leftist, I'm a liberal, I'm deranged, I'm crazy, I got Trump derangement syndrome. Now Donald Trump is admitting literally what I've been warning people about and kind of saying quietly, yeah, Luke, you were pretty much right about all of those criticisms because I was wrong, as on Joe Rogan. He even admitted Sheldon Eldenson paid him to put John Bolton in there, and he was one of the worst people that he ever had in his office. Something that, of course, we have heavily criticized, but everyone was telling us, trust the plan, Luke. No, it's all a part of a deeper kind of thing that you don't understand. Well, we understood it, and looking back at the record 8 years ago, we understood it a lot better than I think anyone else did in independent media, and we were willing to lose our audience in order to speak the truth to you, and we're going to do the same no matter who gets elected as president of the United States, even though I am voting for Donald Trump. That's my personal take on it.
I had hope we got to have hope and faith. You brought up his experience. I think we all kind of agreed with what you were saying, Luke. I didn't like the people he's been around. I liked Bannon and Flynn. He fired them, right? But I think if you're an entertainer and your background is not in politics, you don't know how things are run. I got to have faith and say that I think now the way that I've heard him speak and the people he's surrounding himself now, I think there is a different outlook moving forward. I think he's learned his lesson.
Yeah, I think so too. With the way that he speaks, with the people that he has surrounded himself with, absolutely. I'm just bringing up the larger notion of what happened 8 years ago, which I think is worth revisiting, because I think there's still a small possibility that history could repeat, but I think it won't if we are vocal enough. If the general public, the consensus says enough is enough of this, of these swamp monsters, we need more Viveks, we need more Tulsis, we need more RFKs, we need more Elons, we need more people that are disruptors and Kaufmans out there and libertarians and
I would fire bureaucrats for free. I'm just putting it out. I don't even need a salary. Okay, I'll just show up and do it.
Yeah, that's what I said
no
too.
Compensation necessary.
We need more Cash Patels
Yeah.
out there. That, of course, we need more Angelas, McCurls out there that are doing incredible work. And it's up to you to kind of support them and to back them. Because if it wasn't for you guys backing and supporting these individuals in this larger kind of cultural war that we are all a part of, we wouldn't be here. And we truly are very appreciative of all of your audience members and all the people who participate in the conversations, all the people who sign up to lookunfiltered.com, and, of course, are active and engaged and give us the power to be here for you as individuals. So, yeah, that's happening. As, of course, I've been telling people to prepare for a very long time. I just released a video about how to prepare on lookunfiltered.com, a special secret, not so secret society where you get to join a lot of really cool, awesome people and be a part of the larger conversations that no one else really has. I go deep down the rabbit hole. I talk about my personal decisions. I talk about things that I do in my life that I am using information on in order to, of course, better it. And that's the information that I try to share with you in order to help promote, build, grow, and expand our human consciousness, wealth, prosperity, and liberty. Freedom is in your hands if you decide to act on it in the proper way. And I've built lookunfiltered.com 12 plus years of behind the scenes videos just on that basic model alone of trying to give you the tools, the information, the seed oil cards, the crap list of items you should be avoiding at the supermarket. That's all available for members of lookunfiltered.com. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? Signing up is key, it's crucial, and it's more important than ever. Sign up right now, lookunfiltered.com. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple. You go here, and whatever your budget allows, I know times are hard, but for just $8, 20 cents a day, you could sign up right here, click it, and then you just put in a little bit of information. You get emailed back a login. You log in, and you get a lot of really awesome values that are a lot more valuable than Netflix. You have a choice. You want to do Netflix, or you want to do lookunfiltered.com. Make that choice. Vote with your dollars. Vote with your clicks. Start to decide your own life path right now. 3 master classes that will teach you some really incredible skills. Do you want to sit there and be glazed by the satanic, evil, corporatist, demonic propaganda that plays on your subconscious and emotional, psychological weaknesses? Or Do you want to be uplifted and, of course, enlightened and given information that a lot of powerful people don't want you to have? That decision is yours, and it starts with you. Signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com. Sign up there right now, and I will see you there right after this broadcast. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com. And because you do, this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on YouTube.com/WeAreChange.